As long as you're enjoying the process, try to think of it that way. If you're enjoying what you are doing, it is worthwhile. That's all there is to it.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jed Herne, author of Across the Broken Stars, and I'm joined by my fellow writers, starting with Michael R. Fletcher.
Oh shit, that's me. I am that guy. I wrote that thing, and and that thing over there.
And that thing he's referring to is The Obsidian Path, which I've read the first 2 books in recently, and it's fantastic. Rob Hayes.
Hello, I'm Rob Hayes. I wrote books. It's late here. Don't expect much from me today.
We demand witty.
Yes. 6 a.m. here in Perth as well, so we both feel the pain. And Dirk Ashton.
Hi, I'm Dirk, and I wrote the Paternus trilogy. I wish I could say I wrote this. And if you don't have one of these, you need to get one because you could knock out a home invader with this sucker.
I thought you were going somewhere darker. I thought you were like, you could knock out a homeless person. I'm like, oh, Dirk, no. But no, you didn't.
Like,
that's totally actually my bad.
Excuse my voice. I am still on the tail end of getting rid of the COVIDs.
Oh, dang.
Been there. It's not nice.
Yeah, that's rough. So today we have a bunch of listener questions from all of you, which have been building up quite a lot over the last few months. So let's crack into some of those. The first one is from Taylon, who asks, I'm in a position where I feel like the last few thousand words I've been writing have slowly been getting off track of where I wanted to take my story, and they just don't feel right. Have you been in this situation? And if so, what did you do? Should I just scratch it and start over or run with it? I guess what I'm asking is, how do I keep your story on track? Does anybody have any thoughts to start us off?
I mean, Mike was just talking about that kind of thing very recently with us.
Yeah, I was there earlier this week, last week, whatever. Basically when that happens, what that means is I've written beyond kind of what I knew was going on, what I knew was supposed to happen. I am now writing without a plan. And it usually also means I have either forgotten or actually never knew exactly what the fuck the characters want. If you don't know what your characters want, then the writing becomes sort of aimless wandering. And for me, so what I did this time was I just stopped without deleting anything and said, okay, what does everyone want? I listed all the characters and forced myself to write down a sentence or two for each one, sort of detailing what it was they sort of want in the near future, so I could find where I was supposed to be going. And at that point, you either back up and delete a bunch of shit, or hopefully, with some minor tweaks, you can kind of plow forward again.
Yeah, I've often, Mike's more of a pantser than I am. Because I outline a lot. So but still that happens sometimes because characters will say, look, that's not me. I ain't doing that. Or why are we going this place? This makes no sense. So I'll have to stop and re-outline. But that happens, I think, more when you're just kind of pantsing and writing along than when unless you are the kind of person that can that know exactly what the end goal is and how you want to get there. Which I just can't hold that stuff in my head. I can't remember what I named a character 3 pages ago. So I have to keep a running list. It's like, who was that again? Yeah, so don't stress about it. Don't think you have to scrap the whole thing. Just do like Mike said.
Yeah,
I think. What about you, Rob? Have you had any experience with this?
He's never had that happen.
Yeah.
He's always
too good.
Plenty. First thing you want to figure out is something going wrong, or is it just the middle of the book? Because quite often writing can become a bit of a slog during the middle of the book, and it's a known thing. The middle of the book sort of syndrome, where everything becomes hard work, and you're just like, why is this damn thing written already? So the first thing to do is sort of figure out, is that what's going on, or have I actually gone wrong somewhere? And usually, if it's not the middle of the book being the problem, you've probably gone wrong somewhere. The characters don't want to be where you're taking them, or you don't know what's going on. I sometimes find that reading back through everything I've written so far, that helps to try and figure out where I started taking the characters that they didn't want to go. And then it's usually a case of deleting back to that point and then starting again from there. So yeah, it's definitely happened to me. I once deleted an entire book because it went wrong.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I'm a big character-driven plotter, um, meaning I think character is the most important thing. So the character motivations, um, what not it's what they want, but it's the thing that's driving them forward to do what they do. Even if they're just following someone else, we need to know why they're just following someone else. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of what Mike said, a lot of the problems you might be having could be cleared up if you can just work that out for yourself.
Another useful metric for me at least, whenever I feel like I'm no longer getting excited about what I'm writing, that often is a warning sign that my story is potentially going off track. Like if there's too many days in a row where I feel myself going, oh, I've got to write this scene and I have to get the characters from this point to this point, sometimes that's a good signal that, oh, okay, actually, if you're not excited about this, readers probably won't be entertained either. So that's another good gauge that you can kind of keep track of. Um,
Yeah.
Next question here. So from Ben, who, like Taylon, is one of our patrons actually, who says, I just saw a tweet from Jonathan French, author of The Grey Bastards, saying he was done with his author website. It was too expensive and frustrating to maintain. I get it when there's more than just books on the table, like a podcast, editing services, or a blog, but how important is it for authors to have a website when everyone uses social media? Is it really that much of a hassle, particularly for newbies? But is there a point where they become irrelevant? What's our thoughts on author websites?
I think there's still a necessity. However, I don't think they need to be the fancy, um, complex, multi-leveled thing they used to be. Even just one of those Wix, single page things can work.
Mm,
People need to be able to get a hold of you. You need to be able to refer people to that. That's where you can put up any extras you want to show people, art or a secret chapter or things like that. And that is where you will get signups for your newsletter, which is critical. You need to be able to point people to something like that. And it can be a very inexpensive site as long as it looks really cool. And it doesn't have to be as fancy as they have, as many of them have. Um, the Some sites are really very simple but really beautiful. I was looking at Rafe Marked Creatives website again. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go check it out. It's actually fairly simple. It doesn't have a whole lot of levels, but damn, it's beautiful. And you can get
It's not
through it
simple,
really
Kirk.
easily. Well, no, but
I've looked at that website. It is complex. It's easy to navigate, but there's so much going on in it.
yes.
Like that you
No,
don't
no,
do anything
it
to, but
was a
just
very
like things
complex
popping
and
out at you and all
expensive
sorts.
it was an expensive site to put together, but it's super easy to navigate, and there are really only not that many pages. You don't have sub menus under sub menus and all this other stuff, and you don't have to post a blog. You don't have to do all those things that that a lot of people say you ought to do. But that's my 2 cents. I don't say that anybody should have a Wraith Marked Creative page, but that's a publisher's page basically. So
Yeah,
it's different from just an author's page, but just the way it looks and easy navigation is very nice. But
Yeah. You want a
I'm
simple contact form. I've had several like translation publishers looking for translation deals, contact me through my site to arrange translation deals into Russian, Italian, whatever, which more than pays for the actual site, which is $130 a month, maybe. No, that's
Wait,
a year.
130 a month?
No,
Surely.
130
Yeah, that's
a
crazy.
year.
Yeah.
130
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
Probably a
Yeah.
year.
My site
Yeah.
costs
I think
nothing.
that's it.
But
Yeah.
Mine cost
Yeah.
me £60 a year to rent the what's it, Earl or whatever they call it, and then I just put it together via the free Word blog. Is it Word blog? WordPress? WordPress.
WordPress.
That's it. The free WordPress. And I mean,
That's the one.
Yeah.
takes me an hour to update every time I release a new book. I mean, a bit longer because obviously I actually do run a blog, but it's the cost is negligible.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tiny.
I think the most important thing on the website is really just like, does it have links to all your books? Does it have a way for people to contact you? And probably most importantly, does it encourage people to sign up for the email newsletter?
Mhm.
Because that is
Newsletters
ultimately
are
the thing that
disgusting.
drives you. Yeah, obviously
Yeah.
Mike doesn't have that, so
I refuse. I won't do a newsletter.
But the other three of us on this show all do. So yeah, you can decide
Yeah.
what you want to do. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing is you can just check out like, what our websites look like, what different authors' websites look like, and then sort of just pick the approach that you like as well. I don't think I've updated mine since 2020, so it's just basically been, it was maybe like a few days to get it set up or whatever, and then I just haven't touched it since then. So it doesn't really have to be this massively onerous thing that consumes a lot of your time. You should be putting that time into writing good books instead. Cool. So next question. What would help you in remaining motivated to write a project that you really believe in while also battling the crippling anxiety of failure?
Fear.
What would help me to keep
Being-
motivated?
We've all had
Boobs.
that. We all do that. We all do that every day. You just sit down and write. Just keep writing. I mean, that's yeah. You're not. Yeah, you're no better or worse than anyone else who's starting to write. So just do it. And if you find out you're no good at it, and nobody wants
keep
to
doing
read
it.
your books, still just do it. Get it done.
Hey,
And,
we all started out shit in this
and-
game. I wrote some terrible Star
Yeah.
Wars fan fiction back in the day.
Didn't know about that. That's
No,
that's
he
pretty
didn't.
cool.
It's awesome. I've read it all.
Nice.
No, you haven't.
Furry
Nobody's read
Star
it all.
Wars
Only
porn.
me.
Furry Star
It
Wars.
deserves to be
porn.
burned. But the point is, we all start out a bit shit, so yes. But I mean, what motivates me to keep going? An addiction to writing, to telling stories and sharing them, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. As long as you're enjoying the process, try to think of it that way. If you're enjoying what you are doing, it is worthwhile. That's all there is to it. That's the most important. If you're not enjoying the writing because you're afraid you're going to fail, I really don't know what to say. You got to enjoy the writing because you love to create the characters and do this crazy shit, because we're really just kids in a more advanced way playing D&D and playing with, toys, going rar 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 rar. I mean, really, honestly.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is that, like, a really good definition of anxiety that I came across recently is that anxiety is experiencing failure in advance. So, like, I guess the goal
Yep.
would be to try to not worry too much about the future outcome and to try not to be too attached to it. But as Dirk says, to just focus every day on trying to write something that you enjoy. And yeah, the thing that I kind of try to go into it whenever I'm like maybe struggling with my thoughts on where this book is going to go or if people are going to like it is just trying to remind myself, okay, why is today's scene that I'm going to write exciting, and why will I enjoy writing it, and why will someone enjoy reading it? And then if you can just focus on it like on that kind of small level, that does sort of tend to confront the demons a little bit.
Yeah. And chances are, if you really like it, someone else will.
Yeah.
Um, I had no idea if anybody was going to have any interest in Paternus whatsoever, but I was writing the story that I wanted to write and really enjoying the hell out of myself doing it. Um, and I was like, ugh, you know, if 5 people say, "Oh, this is awesome," I'd be very happy. Um, but I just enjoyed it. That's the only thing that really kept me going.
Awesome. All right. Next question here from Nicholas, who says, "You guys mentioned networking. I'm open to the idea, but would like more suggestions. Being part of communities as a reader makes sense. Um, yeah, how can I network? I'd love to be a guest on podcasts similar to yours, but I feel awkward even asking about it because I don't feel I have a book to promote. I feel like I'm an aspiring author, not a published author in this context." Um, yeah, so the question there, I guess, is like, just how do you network and connect with other people if you're an aspiring writer with nothing
I
published yet?
remember way back when Beyond Redemption first sold. My agent was like, "You gotta, go on network with other writers," and I was like, "How do you do that?" She's like, "Oh, just talk to them on Twitter. Just sort of like shoehorn yourself into conversations and stuff. It'll be fine." And I was like, "You can't just talk to writers. You can't. They're
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 these
like
special guys.
gods. You can't just insert yourself into a conversation with Anthony Ryan or Adrian Tchaikovsky. I mean, that's it. What are you, crazy?" But 10 years later, like that's exactly what I did,
Yeah,
and it totally worked.
Yeah.
You just hang out and chat with people, and that is networking. You don't put a ton of effort into it. You don't keep mentioning your book. You just have conversations about stupid shit, and people start recognizing you, and
Yeah.
takes time. But I mean, for me, that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Basically,
mean,
start out. You don't want to jump in and just start talking about, "I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm writing this." Um, I would highly recommend getting in on some of the Facebook uh, groups. Readers and writers are in there as well because writers also are big fans of books. Join the fantasy faction group. Join the grimdark fiction readers and writers group. And they don't just like and talk about just grimdark. They talk about all kinds of stuff. What are some other good ones, guys?
Reddit
I mean, those are the two
fantasy,
main
r
ones that I'm
fantasy.
Yeah.
looking at.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not
Reddit
Facebook, is
fantasy
it?
is a little
But
harder,
good
but
point.
that's a really good community to get in with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Um, I mean, I just say there's a lot of just mundane, repetitive garbage that's in there.
Have you heard about our
Um,
Lord and
and there
Have
can
Savior
you
be
read
some,
Malazan?
Malazan?
and there can be, and there can be some jackholes. But it's really a fantastic community if you enjoy engaging. Just go in and answer questions that people post. Same thing on the Facebook groups. If they say, "What are you reading now?" Tell them. That you see that kind of stuff all the time. And that's exactly how I got in. I remember, like Mike was talking about, I remember very early on people telling me, "You need to join Reddit Fantasy, you need to join Twitter, you need to actually do something on Facebook." And I'm like, "Oh, um, and then I was always like looking at these authors. I would follow authors that I liked their books, and I didn't know a lot of indie authors back then. But I just started following them and just would comment on things that they posted. And I was always like, "Oh, look at these people and these people, and Mark Lawrence and Anthony Ryan and these folks, or any number of other authors that I really like. Look at them chatting back and forth. I wish I had was able to do that." And then it's like, what the fuck? It's like just honestly, 2 years after that, a year after that, I was talking to all those people. And that's how I met Mike. That's how I met Rob, is just doing that stuff. Um, and Jed, really.
Yeah, I mean, we all
Um,
met in the Facebook
yeah,
group. I think
in
that was sort of
groups.
the formation of
And
the podcast. Yeah.
just from talking back and forth and enjoying what each other said and reading each other's books, and finding that we really liked them and that they weren't the jackasses that everybody told me that Mike was.
No, we are.
But
We are.
we know better, but
That's right.
yeah, that is networking. And through that, you will find out what other authors are doing for networking beyond that, just from doing those things. Go into the AMAs. When authors go in and have AMAs on Reddit Fantasy, that's one of the easiest ones. They'll say, ask me anything. And you just ask them like 3 questions, maybe 1 serious one and 2 goofy ones, or 3 serious ones. And people start to see your name as you do things like that.
It's
I
like
would also
ask me
say
anything,
that
and they
when it
mean
comes to
it to ask
networking,
them anything.
yeah, that's right. They want to be questioned about everything in life. When it comes to networking, there's sort of 2 different approaches you can take. There's like the spotlight approach of, sort of trying to seek out these opportunities and trying to connect with other people out there. And then there's the approach that I personally prefer a bit more, which is the beacon approach, where rather than you being the person that's going out there trying to like connect with these people, you try to create something that makes people want to connect with you or want to hear your thoughts on it, or basically just draws people to you.
You mean
And
like tricking a bunch of authors into doing a podcast about writing with you?
correct. So when, we're in like a really cool era right now where it's very easy for you if you like, if you read like 20 fantasy books a year, like you've probably got lots of thoughts and opinions on them, and you could very easily have like a YouTube channel, reviewing these books or whatever, or even
Yeah.
just reviewing them on Goodreads or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get on Goodreads
yeah,
and post reviews of books.
because authors love that. Like,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
are creating like a really nice video review of someone's book, like that author and fans of that author are going to find you. And then when you go into the groups and start engaging with people, you have like something that is making you, I guess, stand out a little bit from the group and is going to make you maybe a little bit more noticeable. So I think that, yeah, just think about ways in which you can kind of make yourself into a beacon so that you're actually contributing something extra as well to the fantasy community, and actually like giving people another place to gather and to kind of attend in that community. Because yeah, personally, I found that to be more effective than like, yeah, answering on Reddit AMAs and that sort of thing. That stuff is cool as well. But yeah, I just like the fact that when you are focusing on like, how do I actually create something that is adding, this whole extra dimension to this fantasy reader community? Yeah, it's more beneficial for, I think, other people and for yourself as well. It means that you're not having to like, you know, respond to hundreds of comments or like comment on hundreds of things in a day or whatever.
No.
You can just
Yeah.
focus on like, I'm just going to make like a really good review of this book that I loved, and fans of that book will find it, and then they might be interested in, my book when I eventually get around to publishing it. So that's that.
Some just real quick, I wanted to
Mm,
add some really good advice I got early on this was do push yourself out of your comfort zone and try a bunch of things.
yes.
And if you don't enjoy them, just just shit can some of them. Just if you find that really just Twitter and Facebook, or really just Reddit Fantasy, or really just Facebook groups and Goodreads posting reviews and looking at reviews of other stuff and replying about them, is your thing. Just do what you can do, because you can't do everything. Nobody can do everything. And Jed's way is a really good way to do it, but it's a lot more work. And some folks don't have the personality to record videos, and just are not comfortable doing it. But you can still write reviews even if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, so just try things, try everything for a couple of months and see what you think. You don't have to spend hours every day. Just maybe a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, just looking through stuff and just responding to what appeals to you and posting some things. That's a good way to start, and then you can start posting some things. One thing I would recommend is don't post writing advice if you've never finished and published a book and it has less than, say, at least 100 ratings that are pretty good. But the because you see that kind of stuff and those people tend to disappear pretty fast. Other than that, yeah.
Awesome. All right, that's probably a good spot to wrap up this episode. So thank you for all of your questions. They were really excellent. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Draw.
Thank you all.
Thank you for listening or watching to this episode of Wizards, Warriors, and Words. If you like what we're doing here and you would like to help support the show, please go to patreon.com/Wizards, Warriors, and Words. And for a monthly subscription, you can get access to bonus episodes that you can't find anywhere else. Currently, we have 5 bonus episodes up there, and we're going to be adding more in the future. So you can check that out. The link is down below if you would like to have a look. And special thanks to our high-tier patrons, Taylon, Daniel, and Lewis. Thank you for helping support the show. We'll see you next week.